AEW tried to trick me into watching Rampage. No. It took me about 10 minutes, but I smelled Rampage in the air and walked off. I couldn't do it. Couldn't do no more. This is no Rampages, no collisions. It's not happening, cuh. So I walked off. I don't know what's going on in the last hour. Don't care. I'm sorry. I like to say these things up front so that people will know, but I was already distressed when I thought that AEW was 3 hours. I was like, oh no, how am I going to make it through? And then I thought maybe something important will happen on the show. I'm a damn fool for thinking that. But soon as I saw Luchasaurus, I was like, yeah, this is, as the hood rats say, this is given Rampage. I left at that point. Okie dokie. So I got the first 2 hours of AEW. September to remember. I'm very tired. There was no way I was going to be able to sit through this entire show, man. It just was not going to happen. I think we got the gist of it. I don't think anything of note is going to happen between 10 and 11. If so, I'll just have to do it short or something. But right now, we're going to get into this damn show, and we're going to talk about what I saw. And not everything that I saw was something that I hated. Let's get into right now. Fletcher, Hang Person, Adam Page. Hang Person said again that Kyle Fletcher has potential, can carry the company in the future, but he's got to earn it. He's got to do it on his own without Don Callis. And if Don Callis or any member of the Don Callis family gets involved in this championship match, not only will Kyle Fletcher lose the match via disqualification, but he will also be stripped of the TNT championship. Extremely stiff rules here. Extremely stiff rules. These are some of the stiffest rules Tony Khan's ever laid down to keep this match one-on-one. I gotta say, I'm actually quite impressed, but it begs the question why he hasn't put his foot down before. Whenever somebody decides to put their foot down with no good reason, it's interesting. I'm not going to get into the back and forth with this because Kyle Fletcher didn't say anything that he didn't already say last week. So the new revelation is that the match can end, well, that Kyle Fletcher is going to get stripped of the title if he gets disqualified. Hang Person Adam Page botched his promo a little bit. I think he forgot what he was supposed to say. It felt stagey. It felt forced. I don't like this Hang Person Adam Page. I'm not a fan of him. Kyle Fletcher was so frustrated, like his lip started bleeding as he was talking. It was really funny. They did a Darby Allin Moxley vignette, and they said that the story is that Darby was at one point idolizing Moxley for not being ego-driven, but his betrayal of Danielson led to Darby's vengeance. So this is all about the betrayal of Danielson, which happened almost 2 years ago. Speaking of Danielson, he's on commentary adding absolutely nothing of note. He's not adding anything to commentary. He's just sitting there in a t-shirt, looking bored. Speaking of Moxley, he defeated Roderick Strong. Roderick Strong is American Tyler Bate. Okay? He's American version of Pete Dunne. Charisma of sourdough bread. Match sucked. Of course, Wheeler, well, I'm not going to say it sucked. That would be unfair. I didn't want to watch this. And of course, Wheeler Yuta interfered and Roderick Strong tapped out to a bulldog choke. Who cares? MJF and Mark Briscoe had a promo. It's a stereotypical white collar, blue collar story. They showed a scene from Collision where MJF stormed into Tony Khan's trailer to complain about the tables and tax match, as well as the stipulation change on his contract. And this led to Tony Khan, who was not on screen, sounding like he was reading loudly from a sheet of paper. No way, Max. You and this, I don't owe you anything. I changed the stipulation. You tried to set Mark Briscoe on fire. You violated the rules of AEW. You violated the rules of pro wrestling. Well, everybody does that every week. You dork. This sounds like Tony. What is up with Tony Khan's voice being? Is he Miss Bellum from Powerpuff Girls? You can't see his face. We know what he sounds like. This tells me that he was clearly sitting in a room reading his lines. Okay? This was so bad. It was so bad. It would have been much better if he was just on screen and said it in a normal voice. Him trying to perform is very bad. It's very, very, very bad. And the room was very well mic'd. There was no muffle at all. There was no muffle of the door or nothing. This sucks so bad. I don't know what to do, bro. I did like this, though. Bobby Lashley defeats Toa Leona. I did like this. This is the kind of wrestling I want to watch. This is heavyweight wrestling. You know? I'm a big fan of Bobby Lashley. Toa Leona, I feel like they should do more with him, but he didn't show a whole lot here. But he showed enough. Gave Lashley a Samoan drop on the ring apron. It's pretty nasty. Both of them selling clotheslines from each other. Bobby Lashley, belly to belly, Toa Leona, he kind of no-sells it. He speared him on the floor, which is pretty tough. When he finally did lock in a hurt lock, Toa Leona tried to counter it. And he failed because Lashley's too big. Lashley ended up having him in the hurt lock on the ground. Toa Leona grabbed the referee. It looked like his eyes were wide open, but the referee was like, oh, he's unresponsive, and called it a day. So I enjoyed this. I enjoy heavyweight wrestling. Also a big fan of Bob, so I like this. MVP and Ricochet, they fought for a little bit, and MVP broke his cane over Ricochet's back, while Shelton Benjamin beat up, what's the name? Is it Bishop Khan? Deacon Khan? Reverend Khan? The black guy. I don't know. They made those guys look kind of weak. I know they're jabronis and there's not much to it to make them looking weak, but I mean, Toa Leona put up a pretty good fight. I would think that Khan could put up a pretty good fight too, you know? But nope, both Ricochet and Khan just got beat up. I mean, it is what it is. All right, so the next segment we got is CNC, which is easier to say, so I'm going to say that. And FTR. They also had a no contact clause in their contract signing face-to-face thing or whatever this is. I want to truncate this into as little words as possible. Cash Wheeler says that Edge came to AEW and expected them to be in his shadow while they did all the work. They've known Edge since 2009. Dax claims that mediocre tag teams carried CNC to greatness while FTR have been having classics for 10 years with various tag teams. Edge said, oh, you guys are in the greatest of all time conversation, but we've been in there for 25 years. We've created a concept that became a pay-per-view. And then we made tag team matches relevant, and that he let Cash sleep on his couch because he was homeless. I mean, that's embarrassing. I wouldn't want anybody to know that. Anyway, Christian said that the fines, which were like $100,000 a piece and $500,000 for that squirt, Stokely. Christian said it doesn't matter to him because he's rich, and they decided to brawl, which I thought was funny. Dax got busted up, but good. His nose was bleeding, and it was bleeding pretty good. In terms of a promo segment, I wasn't feeling it. Dax and Cash look like a couple of uncles. They look like they're about to help you fix your car. Like you need a jump start, you can ask these guys. They look like they dress like guys you'll see in a Walmart parking lot. They don't look like superstar pro wrestlers, and they're hanging out with Stokely. I mean, I don't know what anybody sees in him. He's a joke. He's not a serious manager at all. The Young Bucks are back. They got money. So they claim that this is the beginning of their redemption tour. And everything was back in order for the Young Bucks. The theme music was back. The placards was back. Everything is back because now they got money. They're giving money to fans. They're giving money to Renee, There's money all over the place in the ring. They stole Baron Corbin's storyline and just stole the whole fucking thing. They did everything except for the bum parts, because the bum part was the funny part. When he was, when the way he was dressed and how he carried himself, and that was the funny stuff. The Young Bucks were just kind of being made fun of for a little while, and they weren't really respected. They never came across as being bums, They didn't commit to the bit, so I don't buy the Redemption Tour. It sucked. And of course, they defeated the Bang Bang Gang, which is not even the Bang Bang Gang. It's Juice Robinson and one half of the Gun Club. I don't even remember what half. And it's a Young Bucks match, so I did not watch it. Next, the Beast Mortos lost to Mascara Dorada, which was a qualifier for the Unified Championship match, which is a triple threat match. Kenosuke Takeshita is in the match already. Okada is the champion. He's in the match already. And now Mascara Dorada is in the match. I was looking forward to this because I love Lucha Libre. Unfortunately, it's Mascara Dorada. And it requires that you not pay attention to the amount of choreography in his offense. At one point in the match, he climbs the ring post. And Beast Mortos has to stand there and wait for this guy to balance himself so that he can do a flippity-doo-dah arm drag. Arm drag. All right? I was very frustrated. And then at other points in the match, Mascara Dorada is botching. Like they try to do a springboard Canadian Destroyer or something like that, but it got botched. No, this is not good. I like Lucha Libre. I don't hate Mascara Dorada, but it's clear, to me at least, that he's another commander. He's a very young guy who has learned very complex moves, and he keeps forgetting the basics. The basics are it has to look like a fight, or at least it has to look clean. This doesn't look like a fight, nor does it look clean. This looks like a guy who's trying to get his shit in, and the other guy just has to help him not die. It's that simple. I can't believe Beast Mortos lost this match, but I'm actually not surprised. Mascara Dorada has been a guy being pushed by the company for a while now, so I'm not surprised, but I kind of am. So the triple threat match is set. Okada and Takeshita, they're still having problems. Mascara Dorada jumped off the springboard and tackled Okada before he stared down with Takeshita too. He's just in the match to eat pins, man. That's why he's in the match. If they had any balls, it'd just be Takeshita and Okada. There's no reason to have this small Mexican man in there. There's just no reason for it. Toni Storm cut a promo about still being the champion and, been living every day like it's her last since she won the title. And that she's loved every bloody, sexually questionable moment of it. Saying that you have to be willing to put your life on the line for this championship or you ain't shit. She says that if she does, in order to lose, she has to be, killed and smoked or something to that effect. She just went on and on. And then we had Jamie Hayter and Chris Statlander, who both stepped into her spotlight to cut promos. And it was funny that when Jamie Hayter stepped in and said that Toni Storm invited her into this match, and she needs to remember 3 things. She doesn't forget. What was the second thing? You invited me into this. And the third is that Hayter hits hard. And then Chris Statlander says she hasn't wrestled for the title in 4 months because none of these women have the ovaries to fight her. And then Tekla came out for her match, which was no holds barred against Queen Aminata. I guess Tony Khan listened to this show last week when I said that it should have been Tekla versus Queen Aminata in a street fight last week. So he decided to do it this week. But I wasn't interested this week. So Tekla won. Okay. Aminata never wins on this show. Ever. She never, ever wins. Ever. She's just one of these people that's always on the show. Never wins anything. There was a big brawl at the end. And Tekla was attacked by Toni Storm. This led to Sky Blue and Julia Hart coming out there, which led to the Death Riders coming out there. And then it came to Jamie Hayter and Chris Statlander. A bunch of people came out. The end segment of this whole thing is that Hayter had an opportunity to sucker punch Toni Storm, but she didn't do it. Instead, Tony was teasing her, basically demanding that Jamie Hayter do something. But Jamie was trying to be a good girl and not do it. And it should just be them one-on-one, right? It should just be Toni Storm versus Jamie Hayter one-on-one. Tekla is not going to win this match. Why is she in it? Chris Statlander is not going to win. Why is she in it? I get it. I respect Chris Statlander. I really do. But there was no chance in hell they were going to win. Now, I did walk away from this show before the finish of Luchasaurus and Kip Sabian versus Jet Speed. But I'm pretty sure Jet Speed is going to win that match. It's another tag team tournament ladder match thing, because apparently there's going to be a ladder match at the pay-per-view, and they're going to put some teams in it. I should probably look at the card. Oh shit, I got to do predictions. Fuck, I'm so unprepared. Okay, we got to do the traditional predictions. AEW All Out 2025 will be airing September 20th, 2025 at about 3 p.m. from Scotiabank Arena in Toronto, Ontario, which is, of course, in Canada. They've distributed about 11,000 tickets. Their setup is about 12,000, so they got about 1,000 tickets to sell before bell time. This update from WrestleTix was from today. No, it's from yesterday. So it's from the 16th of September, so about 4 days before the event. The amount of matches that they have listed so far is 11. I'm sorry, 10. They have one pre-show match. So 10 matches are scheduled. Oh my God, 10 matches. Holy guacamole, cuh. Anyway, 10,000 is a decent house for AEW. This is their version of SummerSlam, kind of. So, I mean, because it's a big event, the All In and the All Out and Double or Nothing. There's kind of there's their three tentpole events. So, those are their three most important events, pay-per-view events. So, I mean, I question why All Out is so close to All In, but that's how AEW does things. I would typically put them like on a different spectrum, but whatever. But in terms of importance, Double or Nothing was their very first pay-per-view, so that's kind of the most important. It's kind of their Slammiversary, So, but All In is basically their WrestleMania, so I guess this would be like their SummerSlam. So we're going to talk about the 10 matches they listed. I don't think the entire card is filled out yet, but I think most of it is. It's enough for me to talk about. So they're going to have an 8-woman tornado tailgate brawl. 8-woman tornado tailgate brawl. Julia Hart, Sky Blue, Penelope Ford, Megan Bayne, that's one team, versus Mina Shirakawa, Harley Cameron, Willow Nightingale, and Queen Aminata. Okay, we're just going to skip this. I'm going to pretend I didn't see this, because there's no reason that Willow Nightingale, as great as she is, and Megan Bayne, as awesome as she is, are not properly used on this show. Queen Aminata was on this show. She was on Dynamite. Well, the Dynamite, she was in the main event part of Dynamite. And they didn't mention this match at all. This match was not mentioned. They don't care. We're moving on. They don't care, so I don't care. So we're moving on. I don't want to hear it. We're moving on. You can't talk me into it. 4-way ladder match, AEW World Tag Team Championship. Because they didn't build any number one contenders, so now we got to have a fatal 4-way match. Very Triple H coded. Too lazy to come up with a feud. Too lazy to come up with a storyline. Let's just throw them in a ladder match. That'll be a crowd pleaser. So we got Brodito, which is Brody King and Bandito, versus the Young Bucks, versus Jet Speed. And there's one more team to be determined. Doesn't matter. I truly believe in my heart of hearts that Dorado will win. They just won the titles. I don't see them losing them already. Plus, they're really juicing Bandito. They're trying to get the most out of Bandito in terms of exposure. And Brody King has the right politics, so it all is going to work out in the end, brother. You know what I mean? So I'm going to go with Brodito. Match number 2. Big Bill versus Eddie Kingston. Eddie Kingston? This has to be a joke. Eddie Kingston is wrestling? Wait a second. When did Eddie Kingston come back? I didn't see him on Dynamite at all. I didn't hear them talk about Eddie Kingston at all. He's wrestling on this show and they didn't build it up at all? Look, Eddie Kingston is fat. But even worse than that, he's old. Last time I saw Eddie Kingston, my God in heaven, he was fat. He had hair coming out of every orifice in his face. And he was talking about Terry Funk is the GOAT. And I'm like, man, what on earth has happened to this man? I thought he was done forever. He looked like Mick Foley's ghost. This man was fat and gray all over. There's no fucking way. They decided to bring back Eddie Kingston and build it up 0% on Dynamite. They didn't do it. Eddie Kingston's going to speak. They didn't give him an in-ring segment so he can talk. Nothing. And then his opponent is Big Bill. Why that guy? Of all the people on your roster, why him? Man, I'm dumbfounded. Look, Kingston's going to win. If this match even happens, Kingston's going to win. Because they don't care about Big Bill. And to be quite honest, they don't care about Eddie Kingston either. I know the fans really do. Fans love Eddie Kingston. And that's the one thing about him that I do like, is that he seems very genuine. And his story is very relatable. But he looks like a mechanic who spends his lunch break eating bologna sandwiches and drinking beer, and that's great for a guy you just want to hang around and talk to. Not great for a pro wrestler. All right, he's not the Crusher, man. This is not. It's not Milwaukee. All right, this is major mainstream big buildings. You got to do better than this. Hopefully, Eddie Kingston comes out absolutely ripped. Maybe he got on the gas, man. Maybe that's what he did. Maybe he went and got on the gas. He's going to come in. He's going to have a 6-pack. He's going to have muscle in his arms. He's going to be jacked. No. Because I just saw him a couple weeks ago, and he looked doughy and homery as much then as he did before. This is going to be a disaster, one way or the other. I don't really want to see Eddie Kingston, but I like Eddie Kingston. That's why I make fun of him. But he's fat, and he's old, and he's probably better off as a personality used to help other people get over, not being pushed as a star. It's not good. Not good. All right, match number 3. Unified Championship Triple Threat match. Kazuchika Okada versus Konosuke Takeshita versus Mascara Dorada. I think I said this before, but Mascara Dorada is in this match to eat the pin. So the question now is about whether this is going to be used to move the belt to Takeshita so Okada doesn't lose to him. But they haven't really proven that they're willing to do anything with Takeshita. They've had multiple opportunities to do something with him and they decided not to. So I'm guessing it's just Okada's going to pin Dorada and we're going to call it a day. That's what I'm going to guess. Match number 4. And they don't have this listed as the main event. I misgendered him. Hangperson Adam Page versus Kyle Fletcher. Singles match for the AEW Men's World. Get the fuck out of here. All right? That Men's World Championship thing is blowing my mind. I can't believe we're doing this. And now Kyle Fletcher's doing this. Now he's in on it. Now Excalibur's in on it. Everybody's the men's world championship. I know what belt it is. Hang Person's going to win. Kyle Fletcher ain't got a chance in hell to win this match, okay? Next, 4-way match, AEW Women's World Title. Timeless Toni Storm versus Jamie Hayter versus Christine Statlander versus Tekla. All right. If Tony's going to lose the belt, it should be one-on-one. So I don't believe she's going to lose the belt in this format. So I'm going to go with Timeless Toni Storm wins the match. But if Tony is going to lose, Statlander should win it because she has been the best woman in AEW who has never become the world champion. Her and Willow are the top two women in the company that are really good, never became world champion. So they can rectify that by putting the belt on Statlander. You could easily, since they're teasing it, have the Death Riders come out and screw Toni Storm out of the title and put the belt on Statlander, consolidating Statlander's heel turn and forcing Toni to chase Statlander, but she has to go through Marina Shafir first. And maybe many times. And maybe some other women that are thrown in the way. Maybe even, maybe some other women that you could find, or some lower card women that you could use. But I don't think they would do anything like that. I don't think they want to mess with Toni Storm and her aura, but they did kind of tease that Toni could lose on this show. They had Toni tease that she could lose, but she's not going to lose. Timeless Toni Storm wins. Tables and thumbtacks, Mark Briscoe versus MJF. Okay. MJF is wrestling Mystico Friday in Mexico. So he's going to have a pretty big weekend. That ought to be interesting. I may actually track that match down to see it. This match makes sense in so much as Mark Briscoe was going to be set on fire. So it makes sense that he would put together a match where he can inflict grave bodily harm on MJF. I don't really see a need for MJF to win this match. This is a match that I would put Mark Briscoe over because not because I think Mark Briscoe is going to be a main event guy, but because it doesn't really hurt MJF to lose. And Mark Briscoe could really use a staple victory. I'm going to go on a limb and say Mark Briscoe is going to win this match, even though my heart says Mark Briscoe should win. My head says AEW doesn't care about that. MJF goes over, LOL. I'm going to go with Mark Briscoe wins anyway, even though, because it doesn't cost me anything to say Mark Briscoe is going to. I'm not putting money on this. If I was putting money on it, I'd say MJF all day. But I'm thinking maybe AEW will give Mark Briscoe some kind of silver medal for not being a champion, and he'll get a chance to kick the shit out of MJF and beat him. So I'm going to go with Mark Briscoe wins. Next, coffin match, Jon Moxley versus Darby Allin. This match should also have no Death Riders as a stipulation, but since they didn't do that, I'm going to imagine that Moxley is going to win this match. Only because, what do you do if Moxley loses? All right, where do you go from here? He's already been humiliated by Hangman Page Hangperson Page, where he got lynched at All In. And now he would lose to Darby Allin, losing 2 big pay-per-view matches back to back. Probably not. So I'm going to go with this being the bounce back win for Moxley, and that he actually beats Darby Allin. But this is a match that Darby Allin should probably win. And Moxley isn't hurt by losing, but they don't seem to be in a rush to do anything with Darby, because if he beats Moxley, then what? Okay, he's killed the Death Riders, but what's next? He's going to head up with the Callis family. Oh, that sounds like a whole lot of fun. A whole lot of fun, I tell you. So I'm going to go with Moxley wins. The next match, AEW TBS Championship, Mercedes Moné versus Riho. Yeah, Riho's not winning. Next, trios match, the Hurt Syndicate, Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, and MVP versus Ricochet, Bishop Khan, and Toa Leona. You know, Ricochet and his team need to win. I'm a big fan of the Hurt Syndicate. Super fan of all three guys. But Ricochet's team needs some legitimacy. They do need to win this match. This is another head-heart situation. My head says Hurt Syndicate wins, LOL. Bobby Lashley don't do no jobs. But my heart is, if you want to keep this thing rolling, and if you want at any opportunity for these guys to get over, then Ricochet's team needs to win this match. You know, booking one-on-one is, if this thing is anywhere near the end, then Hurt Syndicate should just steamroll them and call it a day. But if you're going to try to make something out of this and make it I don't know if you mean blood feud. I don't know if Lashley and Shelton Benjamin are going to go out there and fall through a bunch of tables and shit. But if you want to continue this thing and try to make some real dough out of it and maybe pop some numbers, then Ricochet's team probably should win. So I'm going to go with Ricochet's team. I'm so sorry, MVP. Don't get mad at me. But there's two black guys on this team, so I want to see people like me win. How about that? Does that work? Does it work if Ricochet's biracial? I'm not biracial. Bishop Khan's not biracial, and Toa Leona is Samoan. But he's also like Puerto Rican. So maybe the Puerto Ricans, maybe the very odd breed of Puerto Rican Samoans want to be represented at the pay-per-view. MVP can lose too. He's in his 50s. Take the fucking pin. Let Bishop Khan pin MVP or something. Ricochet can pin MVP. And what's listed as the main event, which absolutely cannot be, is Edge and Christian, or CNC, versus FTR in a regular old tag team match. Okay. This is going to be the epic match of the evening. They're going to have 1,001 kickouts. This match is probably going to be 30 minutes because for some reason they decided this is what Edge should be doing in the later part of his career, is trying to work the epic match. And I'm not sure how many of these they're going to have in them. Something tells me they're going to have more than one match. They may have a trilogy of matches, which would make sense considering that's how AEW has done this with the Young Bucks and FTR, with the Briscoes and FTR, with the Bang Bang Gang and FTR. And I'm sure they see Edge and Christian on that same level as, you know, this is a legendary team. These guys can still go to a degree, to a much lesser degree than they could before. But FTR gets to cement themselves as legends by beating this team. I don't think they need to beat them the first time. I'm going to go with Edge and Christian wins in their hometown to pop the crowd, send everybody home happy. That's not going to be the main event, but they're going to send everybody home happy, at least with this. And then they're going to do something over the next couple of weeks to get FTR back in the conversation. And then they'll probably have the rematch, which FTR will win. And then they'll probably have some kind of gimmick match at the end, whether it's like dog collar, no disqualification, something like that at the end. So I'm going to go with Edge and Christian win the first match, and then they'll continue this thing somehow. Probably do something to write one of these guys off because, you know, they're going to definitely need a break after they work 25 minutes or whatever this match is going to be. And FTR is going to force them to work too because FTR doesn't know how to grab a hold. They're definitely going to go in there and try to slam bang these guys to death, which is not going to work out great, if we're being honest. So I lost count of how many matches. It's 10 matches. All right, 10 matches. That's a lot. So 10 matches is a whole lot. This show is going to be 5 hours, bruh. I'm looking at this and I'm saying that Edge and Christian match is going to be 20, 25 minutes. Mercedes Moné is going to need at least 12, 15. Mox is going to need at least 12 or 15. MJF's going to need about 12 or 15. Hangman and Fletcher is going to need 30 minutes. That triple threat match is probably going to be about 30 minutes. That ladder match is probably going to be about 30 minutes. This is going to be a disaster of a show, bro. It's going to be tough to get through. Because there's so much filler. Big Bill and Eddie Kingston is filler. The women's championship fatal 4-way match is filler. Mercedes and Rio is filler. The 6-man tag Hurt Syndicate is filler. All right, breaking news. Hechicero and Josh Alexander is the 4th team in the 4-way ladder match. Who gives Don Imus's ass? Who cares? All right. Who gives a shit about this? Oh my God. Okay. Also, Hang Person Adam Page got put through a table by Kyle Fletcher. Nobody cares about that either. There was no reason for this show to be 3 hours. Brutal. Absolutely brutal and monstrous. Okay. Let's wrap this thing up. I don't know what I'm going to have, because I might eat dinner actually during All Out, because WrestlePalooza starts at 7 and I don't eat after 7. So I may have like something. I'm going to have something special. It might be like a shawarma bowl or something like that. I kind of want something unique. Like, I have shawarma sandwiches all the time. I might want to make like a shawarma bowl or something. That might be pretty dope. But let me know what you guys are going to have, and whether you guys watched all 3 hours of this show. God, I hope you didn't. You know, Stokely may not get no hoes, but if you watched all 3 hours of this show, there's no way you get any hoes. There's no way hoes are coming in your vicinity. You're attracting nothing but flies. Nothing but maggots. Nothing but, I just hope you get a house full of hornets if you watch this entire show. You deserve it. Because you're keeping AEW in business by watching this whole show. I watched as much of it I could stomach. I need to puke it all up. Talk to you guys later.